The samurai are perhaps the most famous warriors in history. Their image, clad in intricate armor and wielding a gleaming katana, is known worldwide. But who were these legendary figures? The word samurai comes from the Japanese verb saburo, which means to serve. At their core, they were a class of warriors who served the nobility of ancient Japan. They were the military elite, a group of highly skilled fighters who dedicated their lives to the art of war and to the protection of their lords. They were not just simple soldiers. They were a distinct social class with their own culture, code of conduct, and place in the hierarchy of Japanese society for nearly 1,000 years. The story of the samurai begins long ago, in a time when Japan was a land of many conflicts. During the Heian period, which lasted from 794 to 1185, powerful landowners and clan leaders began to create their own private armies. The central government in Kyoto was growing weaker, and its influence in the distant provinces was fading. To protect their lands, their wealth, and their families from rivals, these provincial nobles needed loyal and capable fighters. These early warriors were the forerunners of the samurai. They were hired to guard estates, collect taxes, and fight battles on behalf of their employers, becoming an essential part of the power structure in a Japan that was becoming increasingly decentralized and turbulent. These early warriors were primarily skilled horsemen and archers. Their style of fighting was very different from the later image of the lone swordsman. Mounted combat was their specialty, and the bow was their most important weapon. A warrior on horseback could move quickly across the battlefield, raining arrows down upon his enemies from a safe distance. This emphasis on archery and horsemanship, known as Kyuba no Michi, or the way of the horse and bow, was the original martial code of these provincial warriors. It was a practical set of skills designed for the realities of warfare during that era, laying the foundation for the more complex warrior culture that would eventually develop into the samurai class we recognize today. The transition from mere hired guards to a true warrior aristocracy was a gradual one. As their importance grew, these warriors began to develop a stronger sense of identity and honor. They were no longer just temporary soldiers. They were a permanent part of their lord's household, bound by ties of loyalty that often spanned generations. Their service granted them land and status, elevating them above the common peasantry. This process solidified their role in society, creating a distinct warrior class with its own traditions and values. It was from these roots, serving powerful lords in the provinces, that the mighty samurai would ultimately grow to dominate the political and military landscape of Japan for centuries to come. The power of the samurai class truly began to solidify during the late Heian period. The imperial court in Kyoto was increasingly consumed with its own refined culture, poetry, and arts, neglecting the administration of the country. This created a power vacuum in the provinces, which the ambitious warrior clans were quick to fill. Two of the most powerful clans, the Taira and the Minamoto, rose to prominence, building vast armies of loyal samurai retainers. Their rivalry grew so intense that it eventually erupted into a full-scale civil war known as the Genpei War, which lasted from 1180 to 1185. This conflict was a turning point in Japanese history, as it marked the moment when military power officially surpassed the authority of the emperor. The Genpei War was fought primarily by samurai armies, showcasing their martial prowess on a grand scale. The battles were epic clashes of mounted archers and fierce warriors. After 5 long years of brutal conflict, the Minamoto clan, led by the brilliant strategist Minamoto no Yoritomo, emerged victorious. Instead of simply returning power to the emperor, Yoritomo established a new form of government based in the town of Kamakura, far from the imperial court in Kyoto. This new military government was called the Bakufu, or tent government. Yoritomo took the title of shogun, which means great general, becoming the de facto ruler of all of Japan. The emperor remained a figurehead, but real power now rested in the hands of the shogun and the samurai class. The establishment of the Kamakura shogunate in 1192 cemented the samurai's position at the top of the social hierarchy. For the next 700 years, Japan would be ruled by a succession of shoguns and their samurai governments. The samurai were no longer just servants of the nobility. They were the ruling class themselves. They administered the provinces, enforced the law, and controlled the land. This period saw the formalization of the samurai's role in society. Their status became hereditary, passed down from father to son, and they were granted special privileges, such as the right to carry two swords, which distinguished them clearly from all other members of society. This era of samurai rule was not always peaceful. Japan was often plunged into periods of civil war as powerful regional lords, known as daimyo, vied for control and influence. During the Sengoku period, or the Age of Warring States from 1467 to 1603, the country was fragmented into dozens of competing domains, each ruled by a daimyo with his own samurai army. This was a time of constant warfare where a samurai's skill in battle was paramount. It was during these tumultuous centuries that the samurai's martial arts, tactics, and code of honor were refined and perfected, forged in the fires of near-constant conflict, leading to the golden age of the samurai warrior. At the very heart of the samurai identity was a strict code of conduct known as Bushido, which translates to the way of the warrior. This was not a written set of laws, but rather an unwritten moral code that guided a samurai's every action, both on and off the battlefield. It was a complex system of ethics and values that governed how a warrior should live and die. Bushido emphasized virtues such as loyalty, courage, honor, self-discipline, and compassion. It was the spiritual and philosophical foundation of the samurai class, shaping their character and defining their purpose in the world. A samurai's life was dedicated to upholding these principles, and failure to do so would bring great shame upon himself and his family. The most important virtue in Bushido was absolute loyalty to one's master, or daimyo. A samurai's life belonged to his lord, and he was expected to serve him faithfully, even to the point of death. This bond of loyalty was the bedrock of the feudal system. In battle, a samurai fought not for personal glory, but for the honor and victory of his lord. If his lord was killed or his castle fell, a samurai was expected to defend it to the last man. This unwavering devotion was the source of the samurai's legendary bravery and tenacity in the face of overwhelming odds. To betray one's lord was the most dishonorable act a samurai could commit. Honor was another central pillar of Bushido. A samurai's honor was his most prized possession, more valuable than life itself. He was expected to maintain his personal dignity and reputation at all times. Any insult to his honor or the honor of his lord or family had to be answered. This intense focus on honor led to the practice of seppuku, a form of ritual suicide by disembowelment. If a samurai was defeated in battle, committed a grave error, or otherwise brought shame upon himself, he could choose to die with his honor intact through this painful ritual. It was considered a courageous and honorable way to die, far preferable to living with the stain of disgrace. Beyond loyalty and honor, Bushido also stressed the importance of self-control, discipline, and compassion. A samurai was expected to be stoic, showing no emotion in the face of hardship or danger. He trained his mind to be calm and focused, even in the chaos of battle. This mental fortitude was considered just as important as physical strength. Furthermore, despite their role as warriors, samurai were also taught to be benevolent and just in their dealings with those of lower social status. Bushido taught that a true warrior should balance his martial ferocity with a sense of righteousness and compassion, using his power to protect the weak and uphold justice. When people think of a samurai, the first weapon that comes to mind is the katana. This long, curved, single-edged sword is indeed the most iconic symbol of the warrior, often referred to as the soul of the samurai. The katana was a masterpiece of Japanese swordsmithing, forged through a laborious process of heating, folding, and hammering the steel many times. This created a blade that was incredibly strong and flexible, with a razor-sharp edge capable of cutting through armor. A samurai typically wore two swords, a long katana and a shorter companion sword called a wakizashi. This pair, known as the daisho, was a symbol of their rank and a privilege reserved exclusively for the samurai class. However, the katana was often a secondary weapon on the battlefield. For much of samurai history, the primary weapon was the yumi, a longbow of unique asymmetrical design. Made from laminated bamboo and wood, the yumi was a powerful and effective weapon. Early samurai were master horse archers, trained to shoot with deadly accuracy while riding at full gallop. The yumi's length, often over 2 meters, allowed it to deliver arrows with tremendous force, capable of piercing the armor of distant enemies. Massed volleys of arrows were a common opening tactic in large-scale battles, used to disrupt enemy formations before the main clash of forces began. The art of archery, or kyujutsu, was a core skill for any samurai. As warfare evolved, polearms became increasingly important in samurai combat, especially for foot soldiers. One of the most prominent was the yari, or spear. The yari came in many shapes and sizes, from short stabbing spears to extremely long pikes used to form defensive walls against cavalry charges. It was a versatile weapon, effective for both thrusting and striking, and its long reach gave a significant advantage over a swordsman. Training with the yari, known as sojutsu, was a fundamental part of a samurai's martial education. In the large-scale battles of the Sengoku period, formations of ashigaru, or foot soldiers, armed with long yari, were the backbone of many daimyo armies. Another important polearm was the naginata, a weapon consisting of a long wooden shaft with a curved blade at the end. It combined the reach of a spear with the cutting power of a sword, making it a formidable weapon in the hands of a skilled user. The naginata was particularly favored by sohei, or warrior monks, and was also a weapon commonly used by women of the samurai class to defend their homes. While the katana holds a special place in the mythology of the samurai, a complete warrior was expected to be proficient with a wide range of weapons. His arsenal was diverse, and his choice of weapon depended on the specific circumstances of the battle, whether on horseback in an open field or within the walls of a castle. The training of a samurai was, honestly, a lifelong endeavor that began in early childhood. It was a rigorous and demanding process designed to forge both the body and the mind into instruments of war. From a young age, a samurai boy would be immersed in the martial arts. He learned to ride a horse, shoot a bow, and handle a spear. He would practice with wooden swords or bokken to master the fundamental techniques of swordsmanship or kenjutsu before he was ever allowed to touch a real blade. This physical training was relentless, aimed at building strength, endurance, agility, and muscle memory until the movements of combat became second nature. But, this intense physical regimen was complemented by an equally important focus on mental and spiritual preparation. A samurai had to cultivate a mindset of calm fearlessness, known as fudoshin, or the immovable mind. This was achieved through practices like Zen meditation, which taught the warrior to clear his mind of distracting thoughts and fears, allowing him to act with decisive clarity in the heat of battle. The goal was to reach a state of mushin, or no mind, where the body reacts instinctively and perfectly without conscious thought. This mental discipline was crucial for overcoming the fear of death and for making split-second decisions that could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Training was not just about fighting, it was about developing a complete individual. In addition to the martial arts, a samurai was expected to be educated in literature, poetry, calligraphy, and history. He studied classic texts on strategy, like Sun Tzu's The Art of War. This emphasis on both martial and cultural pursuits, Bunbu Ryodo, the dual way of the pen and the sword, was meant to create a well-rounded warrior who was not just a brute killer, but a wise and capable leader. This balanced education helped to refine his character, instilling in him the virtues of Bushido and preparing him for his administrative duties in times of peace. The culmination of this training was really the ultimate test: battle. Every technique practiced in the dojo, every ounce of mental fortitude cultivated through meditation was put to the test in real combat. The battlefield was a chaotic and terrifying place, and only through years of dedicated preparation could a samurai hope to survive and be effective. The training instilled a deep sense of readiness, so that when the call to arms came, the samurai was prepared to face his enemy and, if necessary, to face his own death with the courage and composure demanded by his warrior code. His entire life was a preparation for these critical moments of conflict. During times of war, the samurai was the ultimate instrument of his lord's will. Battles in feudal Japan were, really complex affairs that showcased the full range of samurai skills. A typical battle might begin with a ritual exchange of names and challenges between champions from opposing armies, followed by an archery duel. Then, the main forces would clash. Cavalry charges, spearheaded by elite samurai horsemen, would attempt to break enemy lines, while large formations of ashigaru foot soldiers armed with yari or spears would engage in massed combat. Famous battles like the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, which involved over 160,000 warriors, were decisive moments that shaped the course of Japanese history, all decided by the strategy of the daimyo and the skill of their samurai. In society, the samurai stood at the pinnacle of a rigid four-tiered social structure, a system solidified during the Edo period from 1603 to 1868. Below the samurai were the farmers, who produced the food that sustained the nation. Below them were the artisans who created goods and crafts. At the very bottom were the merchants, who were seen as unproductive because they profited from the work of others. As the ruling class, the samurai had immense power and privilege. They were the only ones permitted to carry swords, a visible and constant reminder of their authority. They served as administrators, magistrates, and police, maintaining order and enforcing the shogun's laws throughout the land. But this position of power, well, it came with great responsibility. In times of peace, such as the long and stable Edo period, the samurai's role shifted from that of a frontline warrior to that of a civil administrator. While they continued to train in the martial arts, their daily duties were often more bureaucratic. They managed their lord's domain, collected taxes, and settled disputes. This long period of peace presented a challenge to the samurai identity, as there were few opportunities to prove one's worth in battle. Many samurai became scholars, poets, and artists, applying the discipline of Bushido to cultural pursuits rather than military ones, which led to a great flowering of samurai culture. The relationship between a samurai and his daimyo was really central to his existence. In return for his loyal service, a samurai received a stipend, usually paid in rice, from his lord's domain. This income determined his wealth and standing within the samurai class. A samurai's entire life, from his home and his family to his duties and his honor, was tied to his lord. This feudal structure created a stable but rigid society where social mobility was almost non-existent. A person was born into their class and was expected to remain there, with the samurai at the top, charged with the solemn duty of governing and protecting the realm. The daily life of a samurai varied greatly depending on his rank and the era in which he lived. During the turbulent periods of civil war, a samurai's day was dominated by military concerns, training, maintaining his weapons and armor, and preparing for the next campaign. However, during the long peace of the Edo period, life became much more structured and routine. A high-ranking samurai might spend his day attending to his duties at his lord's castle, participating in meetings, and overseeing administrative tasks. A lower-ranking samurai might serve as a guard, a police officer, or a minor official, with a life that was often quite modest and honestly, sometimes financially difficult. A samurai's home was a reflection of his status. A wealthy samurai might live in a large, elegant residence with beautiful gardens and multiple rooms, located within his lord's castle town. These homes were designed with simplicity and function in mind, featuring tatami mat floors, sliding paper screens called shoji, and a special alcove known as a tokonoma for displaying art or a flower arrangement. In contrast, a low-ranking samurai might live in a much smaller, simpler dwelling, sometimes struggling to make ends meet on his fixed rice stipend. Regardless of wealth, the home was a place of discipline and order, where the family lived according to the principles of Bushido. Family and lineage were extremely important to the samurai. Marriages were typically arranged to form strategic alliances with other samurai families and to ensure a suitable heir. The wife of a samurai, the okusa, was responsible for managing the household, overseeing the finances, and educating the children. She was also expected to be strong and disciplined, trained in the use of weapons like the naginata or a small dagger, the tanto, to defend the home in her husband's absence. Children were raised with a strict emphasis on discipline, obedience, and the values of the warrior class, preparing the sons to follow in their father's footsteps and the daughters to become wives of other samurai. Even in their leisure time, samurai often pursued activities that cultivated discipline and refinement. Many practiced arts that were deeply connected to Zen philosophy, such as the tea ceremony or chanoyu, which emphasized harmony, respect, and tranquility. Others composed poetry, known as haiku, practiced calligraphy or shodo, or tended to bonsai trees. These pursuits were not seen as mere hobbies. They were considered extensions of their martial training, ways to sharpen the mind, cultivate inner peace, and express the aesthetic sensibilities that were part of being a complete and well-rounded warrior. This balance between martial prowess and cultural refinement was, without a doubt, a defining characteristic of samurai daily life. The end of the samurai era was not the result of a single battle, but a slow decline brought about by centuries of peace and rapid modernization. The long, stable rule of the Tokugawa shogunate, which began in 1603, created a paradox for the warrior class. In a land without wars, the samurai's primary function as a fighter became obsolete. They transitioned into a class of administrators and bureaucrats, but their identity was still deeply rooted in their martial heritage. Over time, many samurai, especially those of lower rank, fell into poverty, as their fixed rice stipends did not keep pace with the rising cost of living in a growing market economy dominated by merchants. The final blow to the samurai class came in the mid-19th century with the arrival of foreign powers. In 1853, a fleet of American warships commanded by Commodore Matthew Perry sailed into Edo Bay, demanding that Japan end its 250-year policy of isolation and open its borders to international trade. The shogun's government, technologically outmatched by Western military power, was forced to agree. This act was seen as a profound humiliation and exposed the weakness of the shogunate. It triggered a period of immense political turmoil, as many samurai, particularly from powerful Western domains like Satsuma and Choshu, believed that the shogunate was no longer fit to rule and that Japan needed to modernize to resist foreign domination. This turmoil culminated in the Boshin War from 1868 to 1869, a brief civil war between forces loyal to the shogunate and those seeking to restore the emperor to power. The imperial forces, armed with modern rifles and cannons, quickly defeated the traditional samurai armies of the shogun. In 1868, the young Emperor Meiji was restored to power in what is known as the Meiji Restoration. The new government embarked on a rapid program of modernization and westernization. The feudal system, the daimyo domains, and the entire class structure that had defined Japan for centuries were dismantled in just a few short years. The new Meiji government enacted a series of reforms that officially abolished the samurai class. In 1871, the domains were replaced by prefectures, and the daimyo were stripped of their lands and power. The samurai lost their exclusive right to carry swords in 1876, and their rice stipends were converted into government bonds, which quickly lost their value. A modern conscript army, open to all social classes, was created, making the samurai's military role completely redundant. These changes were met with resistance, leading to several small-scale samurai rebellions. Most famously, the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877, led by Saigo Takamori. But these last stands were ultimately crushed, marking the definitive end of the samurai as a ruling warrior class. Although the samurai class was officially abolished over a century ago, their legacy continues to have a profound influence on modern Japan and, really, the world. The principles of Bushido, the warrior's code, did not simply vanish. Virtues like loyalty, discipline, honor, and perseverance became deeply ingrained in Japanese culture. These values were integrated into the national identity during the Meiji period and were later emphasized in business, education, and sports. The idea of loyalty to the company, dedication to quality, and the importance of group harmony can be seen as modern adaptations of the samurai's devotion to his lord and clan. The martial arts of the samurai have also survived and evolved into popular modern disciplines practiced worldwide. Kenjutsu, the art of the sword, has become kendo, a sport that uses bamboo swords and protective armor to instill discipline and spirit. Jujutsu, the art of unarmed combat, has given rise to modern martial arts like judo and aikido. Kyujutsu, the art of the bow, continues to be practiced as kyudo, a meditative form of archery that focuses on form and spiritual development. These modern budo, or martial ways, carry on the samurai's emphasis on mental fortitude, self-control, and the perfection of technique, allowing people today to connect with the warrior's spirit. The image of the samurai has become a powerful and enduring icon in global popular culture. From the classic films of director Akira Kurosawa, like Seven Samurai, to modern movies, anime, manga, and video games, the figure of the samurai warrior continues to capture the imagination of millions. This romanticized image, often focusing on the lone swordsman with his unwavering honor and deadly skill, has made the samurai one of the most recognizable historical figures in the world. While not always historically accurate, these stories have kept the spirit and ideals of the samurai alive for new generations, ensuring their story will not be forgotten. Ultimately, the legacy of the samurai is a complex one. They were a ruling class in a rigid feudal society, but they also cultivated a rich culture that balanced martial strength with artistic refinement. They were warriors capable of great violence, yet they lived by a strict moral code that prized honor above life itself. This fascinating duality is what makes them so compelling. Their story is a timeless tale of loyalty, discipline, and the pursuit of perfection. Today, on May 16, 2026, the castles they built may be museums, and their swords may hang on walls, but the indomitable spirit of the samurai continues to inspire and honestly fascinate us all.